Welcome back. All right, my continuing look at teams that got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. We're up to the Minnesota Wild today. The Minnesota Wild are a team that are no stranger to being eliminated early in the playoffs. It has happened a lot. But what's interesting too is if your team plays against Minnesota in the first round of the playoffs, they're not winning the Stanley Cup. It's the weirdest thing I realized because a lot of the time when a team gets eliminated in the playoffs and then the team that eliminated them ends up winning the Stanley Cup, a fan base can say, well, at least we lost to the Stanley Cup champions. If a team goes all the way to the final, well, at least we lost to the finalists. Minnesota fans don't even have that. So, kind of sad for Minnesota fans and the Wild organization in general, but also kind of a warning. If your team is against Minnesota in the first round of the playoffs, too bad. You're going to win, but at what cost? So, looking back to 2016, the first time that Minnesota ends up losing in the first round after getting to the second round in 2015, they finished 38, 33, and 11, 87 points, made the playoffs, lost in the first round to Dallas in 6 games, and Dallas was out in the second round. So Dallas gets the second round, and they're out. 2016, 2017, Minnesota 49, 25, and 8, 106 points. And one thing about the Minnesota Wild throughout this, they've had some really good regular seasons. They have. They've had some excellent regular seasons, just everything's overshadowed by their playoffs. They lose in the first round of the playoffs in 5 games against St. Louis. St. Louis was knocked out in the second round. So, weird. 2017, 2018, 45, 26, and 11 record, so 101 points. And they lost in the first round against Winnipeg in 5. Winnipeg gets the conference final before they're knocked out, but still knocked out of the playoffs. 2018, 2019, 37, 36, and 9 record, 83 points. No playoffs, so they didn't get a chance to jinx anybody there. 2019, 2020, 35, 27, and 7 record for 77 points. They lost the play-in round, the qualifying round, against Vancouver, 3 games to 1. And Vancouver was out in the second round that year. So, weird, huh? 2020, 2021, 35, 16, and 5 record, 75 points. So, 56 game schedule because of the divisions being done as they were. They lose in the first round against Vegas in 7 games. Sensational series, and Vegas loses in the semifinal to Montreal. So, yep. 2021, 2022. Fantastic regular season. 53, 22, and 7 record. 113 points. They lose in the 6 games, or they lose in 6 games against St. Louis in the first round, and St. Louis was out in the second round. 2022, 2023. 46, 25, and 11 record for 103 points. And they lose in the first round against Dallas in 6 games. Dallas was out in the conference final. 2023, 2024, 39, 34, and 9 record, 87 points. Did not make the playoffs, so no jinx there. And this year, 45, 30, and 7 record, 97 points. They lose in the first round against Vegas in 6, and then Vegas got taken out by Edmonton in round 2. So, if your team is playing against Minnesota in the first round, I'm sorry, they're not going very far. It's just the rules. Apparently, that's one of those things. Because people bring up a lot of, oh, this team is jinxed and this team is cursed. And so why not just create new ones? Because there's always going to be things like that happen. It's sports, it happens. And when you only have one champion in a 32-team league, you're going to have a lot of teams that are unsuccessful in the regular season or playoffs. So, Kaprizov led the way in the playoffs in that series against Vegas. 6 games, 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points. And if that goal wasn't offside, right? If that goal wasn't offside, maybe we're talking about Minnesota finally breaking the curse. Maybe I'm not talking about Minnesota at all right now. But Boldy, 6 games, 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points for him. Hartman, 6 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. And Foligno, 6 games, 3 goals with 1 assist and 4 points. Marco Rossi is going to be talked about a lot this offseason. 6 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. I will talk about him again in this video, probably a couple of times actually. Nyquist did not give them the scoring boost that they had hoped when they acquired him. He had no points in 6 games. And Nyquist had a tough playoff. Faber, 6 games, no points for him either. Brock Faber, I would say, kind of had the sophomore jinx this year. A little bit. The offense wasn't quite, I think, where they would have wanted it to be, and it happens. He's a young defenseman. He'll bounce back. During the regular season, Boldy led the way, 82 games, 27 goals, 46 assists, 73 points. I think he took that next step. I think that he could end up in that point per game range next season. Absolutely. Marco Rossi, 82 games, 24 goals, 36 assists, 60 points. But there's a belief they don't trust Rossi. And he had a tough stretch to the end of the season. And then in the playoffs at points, he was on the fourth line. He ended up playing, I think it was 11 minutes and 8 seconds on average in that playoff series. And for a top six forward, you want more than 11 minutes. So they weren't playing him as a top six forward. He was on the fourth line a lot. Kaprizov, 41 games, 25 goals, 31 assists, 56 points. We'll be talking about Kaprizov again, but the fact that he was on pace for 50 goals, not a surprise. Zuccarello, 69 games, 19 goals, 35 assists, 54 points. And Freddie Gaudreau, 82 games, 18 goals, 19 assists, 37 points. David Jiricek only played 6 games after the acquisition from Columbus. 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. I would think Jiricek plays a lot more for them next season. Goaltending, it's going to be sad not seeing Fleury in their net next year. There were definitely some calls for, hey, maybe he'll think it over and come back. Nah, he's not coming back. So with him retired, it means that Wallstead will get that chance to be the backup. Gustafsson 2-3 in the playoffs with a .914 save percentage. Fleury was 0-1 with an .857 save percentage. During the regular season, Gustafsson was fantastic, 31-19-6 with a .914 save percentage. Fleury 14-9-1 with an .899 save percentage. Wallstead 0-2 with an .843 save percentage. He'll want to improve that next year. I don't see any reason why he won't be able to. What's interesting is their numbers got better in the playoffs than they were during the regular season for the most part. So if you look at the goals scored per game, 3.17 goals scored per game, as opposed to during the regular season, 2.74 goals scored per game. Their goals against went up a little bit. They were at 3 even in goals against per game, 2.88 during the regular season. So they got outscored. They allowed more goals than they scored during the regular season. They actually scored more than they allowed in the playoffs. They were still out in the first round. Their power play got better in the playoffs, 23.1% versus 20.9% during the regular season. The penalty kill was an issue in both, 72.4% in the regular season and then 72.2% in the postseason. So definitely an issue, something they're going to want to fix in the offseason. And the good news being they have money. This is a team that has been up against the cap because of cap penalties for a while. Now they're going to have money to play with. $20.59 million in cap space on July the 1st. Owner Craig Leopold said last year it's going to be like Christmas. I don't know about Christmas, but at the very least, Minnesota could be in on some free agents. Now, they don't have a first-round pick or a third-round pick this year. They also don't have a second-round pick next year or in 2027. So, not a lot of draft picks. We can have the debate about whether or not they should be trading first-round draft picks, but the reality is this is a team that went to the playoffs. They want to stay in the playoffs, and they already have a lot of good young players. So Kaprizov's contract is going to be a discussion this summer, right? $9 million cap hit for 1 more year. So this summer, they can sit down with Kaprizov and get an extension worked out. I would think they're already working on that right now. And as soon as July the 1st, they could then announce an extension. Kaprizov's going to get paid. He is going to make a lot of money. He may only have played half of a season, but we know he can be a 50-goal scorer and a 100-point producer. He's going to be, I would think, in the 12 million plus range. If they get him for less than that, it could end up being a real bargain as that contract ages. Matt Boldy is a bargain. $7 million cap hit until 2030. And so's Joel Eriksson Ek. A $5.25 million cap hit till 2029. Not too shabby. So while Bill Guerin has some contracts that are maybe a little bit higher than we would expect, Marcus Foligno kind of stands out there on some level. But yeah, these forwards are a bit of a bargain. Spurgeon, also a bargain at $7.58 million until 2027. Jonas Brodin, $6 million until 2028. Gustafsson, $3.75 million cap hit for 1 more year. He is due for a raise next season, well, next summer as well, so 2026. We'll see if they get him extended this summer too. It might be wise to sit down with Gustafsson and Kaprizov, get those extensions done, and then not have to worry about that going into next season. The cap penalty that we have talked about for, I'm wearing a Parise jersey here. The Parise and Suter cap penalties drop precipitously from $14.75 million this season to $1.67 million next season. That's a big part of the reason why Minnesota suddenly has a bunch of cap space this summer. and they'll be able to add. So do you add forwards? I would think depth forwards are important. If they do trade out Rossi, they're going to be looking for a top 6 forward in return, but we'll see what happens there. So upcoming, Buium made his debut against Vegas in the playoffs. That experience should be huge, should help him going into next season. Danila Yurov signed his entry-level contract. He is expected to play a bunch, and we'll see if he ends up playing with Kaprizov, at least to start the season, especially since Bill Guerin wants to start him at center. Liam Ogren has been knocking on the door for a while. Riley Height, also a player who may very well end up on that Minnesota roster this coming year. We shall see. But there's some good young players in Minnesota and some other good players on the way. They could take some of that youth and maybe insert a little bit more in terms of veterans, maybe a little bit in terms of winners, and build up their depth. The depth, it seems, was a big part of the reason Vegas takes them out in the playoffs. And again, if that goal wasn't offside, it really is a matter. It's a game of inches. There's all kinds of cliches about how close the NHL is, but I really think that in Minnesota's case, they just have no luck. None. The Minnesota Wild are a team that absolutely should have won at least one of these series, but if a call can go against them, it does. If a goal's going to be offside, it'll be theirs. If there's going to be goalie interference, probably going to get called on them. Like everything that could go wrong, it's the Murphy's Law of the playoffs when it comes to the Minnesota Wild. So looking at their pending unrestricted free agents, and some of these guys are going to need to be replaced and will eat into that $20.59 million in cap space on July the 1st. Johansson, who was not, I think, as effective this year as in previous years. Nyquist, probably not coming back, I would think. Brazo, when they picked him up from Boston, I thought that was a smart pickup. It never really quite clicked, though, with him in Minnesota. The production, although Brazo's not a productive forward usually anyways, but it just wasn't there. Whatever you're looking for from him wasn't necessary. I don't know if he sticks around. Maybe he does. Maybe he goes to market. Merrill on the blue line. They have depth on the blue line if Merrill leaves as a free agent. You have young guys coming up. And, of course, the retired Marc-Andre Fleury, which opens up the spot as the backup for Wallstead. That's why I didn't put Wallstead under the upcoming, because we know he's going to be the backup next year anyways. And he's already got games this year. He had games last year, too. Restricted free agents, Rossi. So the question becomes, do you sign Rossi or do you just trade him? And the team picks him up, then gets to try to negotiate that extension. There was an obvious marriage made between Rossi and potentially the Canucks, since the Canucks are looking for top 6 forwards. But with what Minnesota might be looking for, I don't know if that would work. And part of it may very well just be I'm in the Vancouver market, so they're going to bring up names associated with whatever team and try to tie them to the Canucks where they can. Chisholm, as a restricted free agent, I would think they give him a qualifying offer. I don't think he gets a major extension, probably just a 1 or 2 year, and that's where the qualifying offer question comes in as well. But I don't see anything here that tells me that Minnesota's going to break the bank. Rossi could be pricey if they keep him, but it really sounds like he's probably on his way out the door. And they're going to be looking at what they can get back for him. Rossi's 23 years of age. There's still room there for him to become I would say 70 to 75 point player, maybe point per game. But yeah, Rossi is a good player, and hopefully he ends up getting traded and it works out. I'm mildly surprised that they're willing to move him this early in his career, but it seems like that's where Bill Guerin's headed with it. John Hines, sounds like he'll be back for next season. I would think he's pretty secure in his job unless Minnesota gets off to a rough start to next season. But Minnesota's one of those teams that I have told, my wife's a fan of the Minnesota Wild, right? So there's been a couple of years now, including this one, where I've said, Minnesota's pretty good. They could figure this out, and then they don't. There's a good team here. I go as far as to say there can be a contending team with this roster if it's worked right. And if you have the right depth additions, I absolutely think this team could be a top 3 in the Central. And they were top 3 in the Central until the devastating injuries. So if they can stay healthier, that goes a long way for them next season. They also just need a little bit of puck luck. Minnesota does not have luck when it comes to sports, it seems, outside of the Minnesota Frost. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you expect from Minnesota this summer? What player would look good in a Minnesota jersey? I know that I've mentioned Besser. Besser gets mentioned a lot with the Wild anyways, not just for me and over the years, that Besser going to Minnesota would make some sense. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Greatly appreciate all your support. I will talk to you again soon.